Hello! In this video I want to talk about the unknown type in TypeScript, which is a very useful type, even though you think, well, what's the point of it? But we're going to have a look at it now. So, let's create a new file called unknown.ts. So with unknown, it's very similar to the type any. The type any in TypeScript allows you to assign any type to the type that you've specified as any. So for example, we could do something like const n, and we'll say that's any, and we'll give it a number, or actually let's make this let. We'll give that any type, and then if I was to reassign that variable, I could add a string there instead, and when we compile this, it will compile just fine. So if I was to do that, nothing happens because we're not printing anything or anything, but TypeScript doesn't moan. Now I've got a fairly strict TypeScript configuration file here, so it should moan if we have any problems. But if we were to do a similar thing with unknown, you can't do that. But what we'll do is we'll go through a bit of a better example than this with unknown. So let's first create an interface. We'll call it, I don't know, printer. And all this is going to have is a method called print that is going to return void. That's the whole interface. And if I now create a class just called example, and we'll say implements printer, it's going to have a no-arg constructor, and it's going to implement print, obviously. So we'll do something like print is equal to this, and then do we need to do, I think we should just do console log hello world. That should be okay. And we'll just see if that's moaning. It is not moaning, good. Okay, so now if I were to say const test is equal to example, and do new example test.print, we should see hello world. And we do. That's fine, because what I've said here is that the type test is equal to example. I could also say that the type test is equal to any, and it will be totally fine. Now, this is where any becomes a problem, because what I could also do here is I could run test.doSomething. Now, test.doSomething is not a method that exists on a new example. But because we've specified this type as being any, when I run this, it's going to give us a type error, right? But that is not a type error that has occurred during compilation, as in we haven't gone, this is wrong, this is illegal, you shouldn't be able to do this. This is actually when TypeScript ran, which is a problem. We don't want that to happen, because that's where, you know, problems happen in production. So if I was to switch this type to example again, it will throw a wobbly before it even compiles, right? So we can't even transpile this into JavaScript, because TypeScript is going to be like, this doesn't exist. This is stupid. This is a terrible idea. Don't do it. But what if we did, so if I do unknown, something different will happen. So if I use this unknown type, and I think it needs a lowercase u, if I do the unknown type, what's actually going to happen here is that it's not going to fall down at do something, but it's not even going to compile as we currently have it with print. See, found two errors. So it's found the error that test.print, it doesn't exist on the type unknown, and neither does do something. You might be wondering why the hell you'd want this. Now, the reason is because we might have a case where we genuinely don't know what the type is going to be. Now, for those cases, normally, people would just use the any type, or they wouldn't even specify a type. And the problem with this is that the thing I just mentioned, where we can just call anything on the object, and it won't throw a wobbly when we try and transpile this into JavaScript. It will throw a wobbly at runtime, and that's not what we want. But now we've got this specified as unknown, what we need to do before we can actually use it is figure out what the type is. And this is a good thing, because when we specify that it's unknown, TypeScript won't let us do anything with it until we've figured out what the type is. And so if I were to have a look now and do something like if test, what do I need to do? Test instance of, let's say, example, like this, then it should be fine with that. And if I just comment that out a second, there we go, it prints hello world. Because what we've done here is we've done what's called a type guard, and we've ended up narrowing the type. So what's happened here is this if statement, we're checking that this is the type example. And we know that if it's the type example, it has the method print. So we can actually call that method print. Now TypeScript has gone, oh, hang on a minute, this is the type example, we can actually do stuff with this. And to show you another thing that this relates to is if we were to create another variable called t and make it the example type, but don't assign it yet. If I was to try and assign test to t, it's going to moan. And the reason it's moaning is because we are saying here that we don't know what this type is. So we can't assign, oh, and I've typed this wrong anyway. No, I haven't. It's fine. We can't assign test, which we know is unknown, to something that has a known type until we do the type guarding and narrow the type. So now we've narrowed the type. We now know, within this if block, we know that the type, that the variable test is of type example. So we can now assign this to t. And to prove that further, we could call test t.print down here. So we should see hello world twice, and we do it and it stops moaning. Because this is what the unknown type allows you to do. What the unknown type is basically telling us is that we are being able to say, I don't know what this is, so before we can use it, we need to figure out what it is, which is a far better solution than using any. So hopefully this has been a useful example, and hopefully you go out and use the unknown type from now, because it's great. It's a brilliant idea. I'd have never thought of it myself, but this is great. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for watching. Arrivederci.